What's poppin', everybody? It's a Saber054 on the Whimsy Players channel. I got a request to show my deck list for the Usopp Dressrosa deck. Usopp, an OP10 leader. It's got a pretty great effect. And to be honest, I always meant to show a bunch of matches with the deck and then show the deck profile. But then I usually forget and then just go and use the next deck. I don't make many videos for this channel. It's only every few days. The main focus is on the Pokemon channel still. But yeah, I'll show this deck profile at least before I go into the next deck. So Usopp. This character is my type of leader. The leader, I guess, not the character. Because it gives you a sort of sangan effect, +1, draw card every turn when one of your Dressrosa characters gets killed. If you have 5 or less cards in hand, you get to draw a card. So when you combine this with a bunch of blockers, which this archetype has plenty of, it means that when you play your blockers, if your opponent tries to destroy them by an effect, so that you can't use them to block, you get a little +1. And then if they just try not to attack your guys, go for the leader always, I mean, you use the blocker and you draw a card anyway, so you get that little benefit. The other nice thing this guy does as a sort of extra bonus is that all of your cost 2 and greater Dressrosa type characters have a +1 in the cost. So against other black decks or other decks that basically kill you depending on your cost with effects, it makes it a little bit harder for them. Alright, that's about it. That's Usopp. He's a dual leader, so that means you gotta have 4 life, which is a bit sad. It makes him a bit fragile. I'm a firm believer in that, you know, the dual leaders, I guess if they keep giving them really broken effects, then maybe they'll still hang on, but when we have enough cards, variety of cards you can use in decks, then that extra variety you get from two colors might not be so great. I guess with the rotation though, it might actually work out. So yeah, props to Bandai for doing that, because it's another good thing. It makes the dual leaders get a little bit more value that way, as compared to being weaker than monocolor leaders with a large card pool. Okay, so I got 3 Cavendish. This is one of our main, I guess, middle range attackers. You drop this guy, he doesn't have an on play, you gotta attack to get his benefit. But when you do, if you do this at least once, you got a +1. You draw 2 and you discard 1. We got plenty of stuff we can discard that we might find useless, so it's good. I got the 4 Sabo here. This guy has decent stats, I guess, if you desperate to summon him, but the main use for him is to be a 2k counter. You know, Revolutionary Army, but Dressrosa as well. So, got him. I got the triple Mihawk as my strongest boss character in terms of attack. He's just an 8 for 10, good, and then you draw 1 when you play him, so I like that. You know, Kaido would sort of conflict with me when I draw a bunch of cards with him. You know, you draw 4 and then it conflicts with the leader, and then the other Kaido, I guess I could run him, but bounce in the stuff in hand, and then you don't draw anything, like with Boa. It makes him not that cool for me, but who knows, maybe I should run him. Then we got the Gyats as well, 2k counter, and that's about it. You don't really want to summon this card. And then for Rebecca is our 1-cost Searcher. You gotta discard the rest of the stuff though. You only reveal 3. Grab a Dressrosa card and then you discard the rest. And it can't be another Rebecca, so if you reveal this bitch, you can't get her, unfortunately. The discarding is a little bit of annoying because this isn't, you know, the Rebecca leader deck where you want to dump a bunch of stuff. Lightsworn style. But I got her because she's the Searcher still, might as well have her. We got the 4 Ideal, I think it's Ideal, yeah, whatever. Ideo, I think is what it's called in the anime. I wasn't really fond of this guy from, you know, compared to all the other gladiators from the Dressrosa arc. But he's the 2/2 blocker for this archetype, so we gotta have him. He's pretty important. Cheap character you want to see early so you can summon him. And then, of course, he's a blocker. It's gonna give you that plus when he dies. So it's nice. 1-legged soldier. Kudos basically, and 2k counter, max him out. Enough said. Same for Bartolomeo. There's a 2k counter, but he has a bunch of other important functions too. He is a blocker in that sort of cheap range too, like Hideo. Slightly more expensive, but he can be sometimes a bit more flexible. I mean, he's very important because this is the guy that we want to get with Rebecca and Frankie 99% of the time. But you can also do shit like have him down and then you use Riku and maybe attack with him. So, you know, the slightly higher attack a lot of times doesn't matter. You just want him because he's a blocker and a 2k. But, you know, sometimes you never know what you can do with it. So he's great. You gotta have this guy 100% at 4 copies. Then we got Riku Doldo III, the king of Dressrosa. That got fucked over pretty badly. But he should have been more ruthless. There was a way to avoid all that bullshit. If he just exposed Doflamingo from the beginning. Anyway, I gotta be cutthroat sometimes. So this card is a blocker, 4/5, and when you summon it, you can choose a different Dressrosa character and give him 2k. So when you already have a character down, let's say like this Frankie or Law, you can make them slightly better attackers, and then you still get a blocker down. Plus, when he gets killed, you can put the 2k during your opponent's turn as well on one of your characters. So you can turn this guy, if you didn't attack, into an 8k blocker. So you can do shit like that. So I like it. Maybe 4 is overkill and sometimes the effect doesn't really work out. You can't really utilize it. It would have been awesome if you could do this with the leader, but you can't. But I still got a bunch of them, you know, 4 copies. Worst comes to worst, he's a 10k, is an 1000 counter in hand too. Yeah, 10k. Then we got the triple Rebecca. Sometimes this card is also not really gonna work out, especially because, you know, this guy gives you a summon. You're gonna fill your bench if you don't wanna, if you play the Rebecca and they don't get rid of it, you wanna keep her. So you're gonna play her and then you're not gonna have space to get something summoned. It's just gonna have to get it in hand, which is still good. But yeah, Rebecca, triple of her, still got a runner, she's very good. Recovery to the hand, free summon with the Bartolomeo or even Hideo or something, and she's a blocker too, so excellent. And then Frankie, another blocker, 4/5, and on KO, you get a 3 or less Dressrosa type character and you can revive him rested. Pretty much you get the Bartolomeo and you get your little +1 that way. So they gotta swing to kill this guy, otherwise he's gonna be an active blocker next turn. And then you can block bigger characters. So it's good. This deck is pretty much all about floating. Then we got Trafalgar Law. I like this card, although sometimes it might not be so cool, I guess. It just basically just gives you a draw, or you can force your opponent to discard a card when you play it. Now, if you force your opponent to discard and they discard something useless or something that helps them out, it sucks. And they gotta have 5 or more cards for you to do this, which is another sort of unnecessary drawback, I wanna say. I mean, you can always just use this to draw 1, and a lot of times you'll do that too, but it's just another 5/6 blocker. He's also a counter in hand, so you get that complete balance. Big blocker, you know. That's it. I mean, nothing really else to add. And, you know, he does give you a chance to recover some of your stuff too. When you play him, you gotta recover some cards to gain the effect. Then we got one Sabo here from OP4. So this card, I was running 4, then I did 3, then I did 2, then I just dropped it to 1. This guy really just, I never want to summon him because he's pretty much just a vanilla 5/6 blocker. That's it. He's only gonna come up when your opponent really just destroys you with effects all day long, like against another black deck. Maybe against Rob Lucci. Then you can summon him and get that defense. Okay? But, you know, Usopp boosts our costs anyway, so, you know, we do make it a little bit difficult for them, so it conflicts a little bit with Usopp. And then the other effect, you know, you draw 2 and discard 2, you don't really get a plus. I'd rather just draw 1, like with Law, and I get something, I don't get rid of anything. I mean, it still helps you dig, but I don't want to be that desperate. I just want to draw naturally what I want, and I don't want to be forced to discard stuff that maybe I want to discard. So I really don't see this card as still being that great. I don't know. It needs to be in some kind of a different deck that you want to just dump and draw, maybe. The cost, again, it's in that range that even if you didn't want to dump and draw, at 5 cost, it's kind of a mid-range, mid-game card. You know, he is a counter in hand, so I guess he isn't dead. That's why I still got 1 in, but yeah, I just having it is more of a formality. Maybe against the Black Rob Lucci deck, we can still summon him, but to be honest, I never really summon him. If I took him out and just put another Gats, you know, it would make some kind of sense to me. But I got him in. I guess if you got nothing else to summon, instead of just summoning nothing, maybe you summon this guy still. Anyway. Then I got the Monkey D. Luffy from OP10, the secret rare. This card is a bit sad because it's like they wanted to make sure it was just going to be okay and nothing more. 6 for 7 stats, and you got the 10k in hand too. It's decent, but not really that impressive. Other cards can meet this sort of a stat and cost an attack and still be a 10k counter in hand, but maybe I'm wrong. Once per turn, he can't be killed by effects, which is something, so they know that they gotta use an effect twice if they want to kill him. Most of the time, though, they're gonna try and run him over because his attack isn't that high. And when attacking, you can put 3 cards from your grave basically back in your deck, and then force your opponent to discard something from the hand. Now, once again, you force them, and they... it's not random, they get to pick, so that kind of sucks, and they gotta have 5 or more cards. Otherwise, you don't even get this effect. So, he's just a very average mini boss character. But, I mean, he is Dressrosa. I couldn't really think of anything better to put in. So, I decided to just try him out. And I kept him in since. But I do find myself thinking sometimes, is this card even worth it? I guess it's just in a 1 copy. Alright, and then the last character is this Sabo. It looks like it would be a Dressrosa card, but it's not. It's just Revolutionary Army. 8-9, you trash a card from your hand, and then you get to destroy a level 5 and a level 3 or less characters. So you get the dual destruction. Sometimes it comes up, sometimes he's useless. But I decided I'm going to keep this as opposed to something else of a boss character. Just try him out. I don't know though, man. Maybe it's still bad to have him. But I got him. I had him in the deck when I showed you guys the matches, so I'm showing the deck as it is. And then the last card, it's the only event we got, Gum Gum Red Rock. This is an answer to get rid of a big cost character instantly. Get rid of a big threat. We're not gonna draw like with Boa when we use this, but it's still a great card. Shield trigger too. This is essentially the only shield trigger I got when you think about it. So yeah. And this is the Usopp deck. It might not be the best way to run him, but that's the way I thought of using it. Just straight up take advantage of blockers and exploit this guy's ability to the fullest. Every turn, we just want to exploit this guy's ability if we can. Just draw a card. And outgrind my opponent. Alright. There is a little bit of lack of big characters, although I do got the Mihawk. I got the Mihawk. Sabo is kind of big too. I mean, he's not Kaido, but he's kind of big. This guy's big though. So, it's not like I don't got any big characters, but a lot of times I do find myself being overpowered. That's the thing. Alright, so that's the deck profile, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel, leave a like, share the video with your friends, and I'll see you guys next time. What a